Uh, good evening once again. Vincent, Victor.
Good evening, Secretary.
Yes, so we are going to straight begin our class today on catching up from where we left the other class. Maybe you can remind us where we ended the other class.
We are to pick on risk assessment.
I thought we finished on risk assessment.
We did that, then there was some task that you have assigned us.
Yes. How far are you from the tasks?
So far, I think some have compiled, some are still compiling. Yeah.
So I had given you an overview on information's risk, and I gave you a task on some of these standards and policies that are used for information security in different organizations.
Yes.
For auditing different organizations like financial, healthcare, COVID, for governance, and ISO.
ISO, yeah.
Yes. So maybe today I wanted us to cover on the real process of conducting an effective security audit. Since you have understood the policies, the policy itself, when you talk about ISO and the others, those are IT security policies. Now, for us to conduct an information security audit, so we need to know how to conduct an effective security audit. So as we agreed in the other class, you know, when we mention something like an audit today in any organization or in any other setup, it sends a lot of discomfort to many people. But I want you to understand that that process of auditing is actually meant to assist the organizations be up to task on areas of concerns that they need to improve. So when people get across and come across security auditors, it sends a lot of shivers around their spines because most of them battle with hardened executive. So it means some outside organization is coming to conduct a formal written examination. So some people fear when things are formalized, a written examination trying to investigate on these critical components and assets of an organization. So I think most of the time you must have come across financial audits. Those ones are some of the common audits that we have come across, which deals with business enterprises. And that is how business manager encounters. So it is financial audit. But in this case, we are dealing with something known as information security audit. So we are trying to audit physical security, operation security, you see, and many other concerns. So an information security is one of the best ways to determine the security of an organization without incurring the cost and other associated damages of security incident. So this is just to investigate. So I want us to understand what are these things that we can do to effectively conduct, analyze, and even document an IT security audit finding. Because as soon as you've done an investigation and you have audited an organization, how do you report effectively so that organizations can use that report to better their services or to improve? So to begin with, as I've agreed, I want to make a clear distinction between penetration tests, which normally people use interchangeably to mean computer security audit. But I want to say that they are not same things. A penetration test, most people would say pen test, is actually a specific focus thing which tries to see security holes in critical infrastructure. Maybe, for example, firewall, whether there are enough controls in a firewall infrastructure. So normally penetration testers may only be looking at one service on a network or a network resource. So they usually operate from outside the firewall with minimal inside information in order to realistically simulate the means by which an outside attacker would, or an hacker in that regard, would escalate privilege and maybe access these valued resources. So that is penetration testing, as I've agreed with you. So computer security audit now is systematic, it is systematic, measurable technical assessment of organization security policy. You see? So it is a process, it's systematic, measurable technical assessment of how organization security policy is employed at a specific site or is employed by a certain setup or organization in that regard. So normally these computer security auditors work with full knowledge of an organization, at times with considerable inside information in order to understand the resources to be audited. So you need to have worked around with and interacted with the systems within an organization to be able to know what you need to audit. Because before you audit, you also need to know what to audit. So as I have agreed, security audits do not take place in a vacuum. So it is an ongoing process which is actually defining and maintaining effective security policy. So as you are going on with audits, you are trying to define and maintain the effective security policy. Unaangalia in tandem, you are checking with your organization security policy, whether you are meeting the policy continuously like that. So it is an ongoing process. So I want to say that everyone who uses any computer resource throughout the organization need to be audited when we are talking about computer security policy. So why? The reason is the dynamic nature of computer configurations and information storage are widening, especially with expansion in cyberspace. So once the cyberspace is still widening, again, it brings in a corridor of many attacks. So that's why we are saying that policy is wide and it tries to cover everything. You have to check even to ledgers if it is to deal with accounting systems. So in any regard, security audit provide a tool or a fair measure way to examine how secure an organization is or an organization IT assets are. So some of the tasks that these computer security auditors perform starts from personal interviews. Before you start auditing, you start personal interviews, vulnerability scanning, you're trying to see the weaknesses, examination of operating system, which operating system do these organizations use? You also need to analyze the network ranges. E-network IP, this organization starts from where to where, You're trying to map the system in place, the whole infrastructure. And also the historical data. If this organization has been hacked before, then what could have been taken advantage of? Which vulnerability?
Hello, Doctor. Hello.
Yes, are we getting each other?
Yes, yes.
Okay, we can continue.